So this is going to be having done my autism awareness video, I'm now going to go on to my usual sort of like weekly video vlog, if you like. In today's video, I wanted to do a book review on a book I've read recently called Everytime I Find the Meaning of Life, They Change It. There you go, show to camera. This book is by Daniel Klein, who's a philosopher. As you know, philosophy is one of my major interests, one of my major preoccupations. I've actually got three major preoccupations. Food and cooking, as you know. You should know about by now, as I go on about it a lot. Food and cooking, philosophy, and autism awareness, raising awareness of autism, which I guess in a sense kind of has crossovers with philosophy. And my particular interest in society and all of that. So this is a book I've read recently. It was actually a really good book. It's a library book, so I'll be returning it soon. It contains a collection of pithies, or short sayings, by philosophers about how to live a meaningful life. As I'm sure you're probably aware, particularly so if you're autistic, life comes with no how to live manual. And I think, certainly for my speaking as an autistic person, we can feel adrift at sea with no anchor. There's no fixed meaning, and that can be really quite hard for us to deal with because we often like kind of certainties and things like that. Personally, I like what I call the pick, mix, or discard type of philosophical thinking. Or when I was at university, someone called it the cafeteria approach. I didn't quite understand what they were going on about at the time, but it's made more sense as I thought it through. At the time, I was like thinking, cafeteria? What's that about? I was just thinking of like cafeteria with lots of food, and I didn't understand how that had any relationship. I didn't get their meaning, but I'm not great with metaphors, how to think them through, but I understand it now, and that's actually a really good way of describing this, what I would call a pick, mix or discard type of philosophy, as being a bit like being in a cafeteria and picking, taking what you want and discarding the rest. So really what this is saying is that we can decide for ourselves what is relevant to us by taking and reinterpreting the philosophies that fit our own experience. Maybe mixing them up a little bit like you would with a cake, the ingredients of a cake. You could create something amazing out of that. You create your own philosophy even. Now, one of you suggested that I talk about some of the potential positives of being autistic. And I feel that some of the following philosophical quotes taken from this book might offer some insight. Firstly, the British philosopher Bertrand Russell stated that, I quote, "The goods of the mind are at least as important as the goods of the body." Now, Russell was an advocate of cerebral hedonism. Cerebral hedonism. I don't know if any of you have heard of this before, so let me explain. Hedonism is a school of philosophy which argues that the pursuit of pleasure is life's sole purpose. Now, this makes intuitive sense to me. I don't know about you, but it makes a lot of sense to me because time on Earth is finite, it's limited. We need to enjoy our lives. We only really get one chance at it, so we need to go and enjoy ourselves. Now, physical hedonism it belongs to the domain of the body. So, for example, when I'm enjoying food, eating, cooking, I'm being a hedonist. I would say that I am actually a sensual hedonist. I get great satisfaction out of certain sensory experiences. Sensory experiences could cause me a lot of pain and a lot of anguish, but they can also enrich my life. Cooking and smelling food, that's part of the reason why I'm so obsessed with food, But, says Russell, we can also relish the pleasures offered to us by cerebral activities, which means mental introspection, contemplation, or intellectual activities such as reading and thinking. And this can move us to ecstasy. I wonder, have any of you ever had that experience of being on a high, reading a particular book or something you're interested in, and it's all making sense, it's all connecting, that sense of euphoria, oh my god, I've got it. That is cerebral hedonism. I experience this a lot. I think also because I have synesthesia, things I see in colour, words, letters, numbers, I see it in colour. I see colour on a page. It's a very textual kind of, it's a very, really quite concrete experience for me. I guess it's quite hard to explain to people who don't have it, but if you do a synesthesia, you probably know exactly what I'm going on about. But yeah, everything is very, very vivid and colourful because I literally see words as having colours. Now, this can give me a sense of high, but also there is a little bit of nervousness there because there can be too much information racing into my brain, and it can be hard to prioritise and order all the different strands, so there can be that bit of nervousness as well. But at the same time, when I get a crystal clear awareness of a truth, when a world suddenly appears to me over-connected, that is amazing. Although I am also aware of the ephemeral nature of this perfection. It won't last. It's a bit like a perfect bubble. Oh my god, this is amazing, I finally cracked the code, but I know it's not going to last, and this could be shattered at any moment, and then I'm going to be brought back down to like my mundane existence, and that can be quite scary. So I walk this line, I guess, between intense meaning and intense chaos. That basically is my life in a nutshell. But I generally think that many autistic people get great satisfaction out of their intense interest, and this has to be maybe a positive of being autistic. These interests are often cerebral in nature, sometimes central, like I mentioned, and our curiosity and childlike enthusiasm and passion. Now, I know the term childlike can often be used in a pejorative sense, stop behaving like a child. And I know how to be careful because there is this stereotype of autistic people not really growing up, and that can be a dangerous stereotype, and it encourages people to patronise us. So I am aware of that, and I don't want people to, when I say childlike, I'm referring more to this sense that we don't really, we retain that curiosity, and that has to be a positive. That has to be a positive. We tend to be quite enthusiastic, and we tend to be very passionate. And this brings me on to the next quote that really resonated with me, by Bertrand Russell as well. The man who has no tincture of philosophy goes through life imprisoned in the prejudices derived from common sense, from the habitual beliefs of his age or his nation. To such a man, the world tends to become definite, obvious. Common objects raise no questions, and unfamiliar possibilities are rejected. Philosophy keeps alive our sense of wonder by showing familiar things in an unfamiliar aspect. So this quote is really saying, think for yourself. Autistics often tend to do this anyway. We often tend to be quite outside of the box people. We are less conditioned by society generally. We have the outsider perspective, which has to be a positive. But, however, there is a caveat here because our different interpretations might, they mean we can easily be ridiculed or bullied by other people by following our own path. So we are also there's a sense that we're living dangerously, to quote from Nietzsche, the philosopher Nietzsche. We live dangerously. So we are often rebellious by nature, us autistic people. I guess we are, generally speaking, quite authentic, or maybe more authentic perhaps than non-autistic people, because we do our own thing. We're not so connected by that invisible Wi-Fi I mentioned in my other video. But there can be this conflict there if we have the awareness, because not conforming can mean a lack of acceptance from society. However, Nietzsche argued that to live freely, vigorously and meaningfully, we should embrace our inner buffoon, our playful child and wayward nature. So that's got to be a good thing. The other thing about that quote that really resonated with me is that to an autistic person, the world is often not definite or obvious. It's confusing. So as I said, we retain our sense of wonder. Almost as though we're seeing things for the first time. It's almost like we experience each moment as if doing it for the very first time. So our world can be a bit less joined up, and that can be very fragmentary and scary and confusing. But at the same time, it can mean that we retain that sense of wonder and curiosity, and that may be a good thing about that. Now, Klein makes a fascinating point that heightened altered consciousness is always relative to normal consciousness. For example, when tea was first introduced to Britain, it made people deliriously happy. When I first drank tea, it certainly made me feel very high. It still does often, actually. And he said that this is like different to our ordinary everyday experience, because collective consciousness had not yet been adapted to a particular state of being a tea drinking nation. Now, obviously, autistics are less influenced by the collective consciousness or invisible Wi-Fi, so this might be less relevant to us. Because most people do take tea for granted now. I don't say I do. I still get very, very excited by tea because I'm not quite connected to other people, so I tend to go my own way, and tea still makes me very excited. Autistics generally, though, are less likely to take life for granted. It can be quite magical for us every day because life is unpredictable, and this means that we need routine, so we try very hard to give ourselves routine to make it that bit more predictable. But when we break our routine and get out, or even sometimes actually within my routine, I can experience an intense high. Maybe that's because the wider world consciousness is not well developed relative to my routine consciousness, my precarious routine consciousness, which helps to protect me from chaos, which is why I need routine. But when I do go out into the outside world, it can be so new and so kind of like, oh my god, like, I'm not taking it for granted, but I do often get this urge to run, jump and laugh, which maybe is like another positive of being autistic, maybe. Although obviously this regular sense of wonder and intensity of existence can also be very draining and scary. For positive is that I don't get bored that often. In relation to often experiencing heightened consciousness, I would like to bring this video to a close, but I do want to mention a song that really resonates with me. I don't know if any of you know this song, but Lily Allen, she's a great singer, I do like her songs. Lily Allen's song Air Balloon really resonates with me. In the song, she sings that when she's bored, she drifts away. And to me, this is a version of the almost shutdown type experience when in some social situations. Because my mind, again, this comes back to the cerebral hedonism thing, my mind is so much more interesting and wondrous than a confusing external world. So I withdraw inwards. Almost like I'm up in my own air balloon. I can't hear what people are saying, and I can internally be authentic to myself by creating my own universe. And I'm happy up there. As Alan sings, I'm not going to sing. Now we're so high it can't rain. She sings in her song. Now we're so high it can't rain, up in my air balloon, air balloon. Yeah. Na 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 na. I'm not singing it properly. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. I do love the bit where she sings, shake it, shake it now, gimme some sailing.